happening today, folks? Whoa, boy, it is humid today in Maine. Summer's finally here, I guess. That's how it goes. It's like, boom, you're almost mowing your lawn when there's still half of it covered in snow. There's like black flies on one half of your yard, snow on the other sometimes, it seems like. Jeez. Anyway, I just got done riding on the lawnmower for a little while. That's always a whole lot of not fun. I like to call it the chiropractor on wheels. Anyway, I want to shoot a video about, guitar care, okay? Especially with the temperatures and the humidity that's going on. I know everybody else is probably dealing with the same thing, out west and down south. You guys are already blazing and hot down there, so it's different. Sometimes it gets dry in the summer where you may live, and it's kind of odd here in Maine. Honestly, you would think the winter time would be worse for your instruments in New England. It can be if you're running like forced air heat in your home, that can really affect them. You got to run a humidifier and go through all that. I do not have that in my studio, so it works out well. The heat's in the floor, so I don't have any air movement, which helps from drying things out too. But in the summertime, it's different because it gets hot and it also gets really humid. So I really have to pay attention to stuff. I have to put a dehue in here sometimes, even an air conditioner once in a while. It stays okay, but I haven't had any issues yet, and I've had my guitars in here for almost 10 years now, so everything stayed quite stable and everything, but it can happen. So I just picked up this guitar, for instance, and played a couple chords. I was like, wow, that sounds really sharp to me. So I hit the tuner. Sure enough, it was about a half step sharp. And that's because of the humidity. The humidity's up, and I'm going to dig out the dehue and take care of it, but don't go from one extreme to the other either. That's my advice. Don't just say, all right, I got to get the humidity out of here and just blast it right down to nothing, because that's a big change. You want to do it kind of slow and just let the machine kind of do it. Bump it up in increments and take the humidity down in just stages. It's the best way. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to check a few more guitars. Now that's how you can tell. If it's humid, they're going to be sharp. When they're dry, they're going to more than likely be either good or a little flat maybe, but humidity swells everything up, and that's when you really notice your instruments are sharp. So if you pick it up and you didn't tune it a half step high for just for the fun of it, then it's probably humidity. Now I like to use a gauge. That's really the best way to monitor your room. Use a gauge and try to keep that humidity right. I like to stay around 50, 40, 48 to 52, 3, 4, something like that. That seems to be okay. I think it's okay as long as it's not one extreme to the next. If you just kind of keep it, there are boundaries where you have to be, but I've seen my room fluctuate, with dew points and humidity, 8 to 10 points or whatever, and the temperature stays pretty much the same. Now it can get warm in here in the summertime. The winter time it stays whatever I want it to because I'm controlling the heat. So summertime is my biggest obstacle really as far as guitar care and maintenance and just keeping an eye on things, because and it's just paying attention, like I said. Now sometimes I'll even bring out my acoustics when the humidity's up a little bit. I'll take them out of the cases or just open the case and let the humidity kind of gently get its way in there, because they can they can be dry in the winter depending on where you live and what you're using for heat. So it is good to get them out once in a while. I don't mind leaving guitars in the cases. That's a good practice as well. As you can see, I mean, I have guitars hung on the wall opposite from me, and this wall's covered. I don't have enough room, so I like to keep them out. That way I can get at them and play them too. But and they've stayed quite nice and stable and straight. I don't have any issues with necks warping. Although when the humidity does come up, they can take some forward bow too. My opinion, when the wood gets a little damp, it's more pliable, right? So, and when everything kind of swells, it's going to put a little more tug on your strings. Like I said, if it's a half step high, or even up to a whole step high, it's definitely going to pull on the neck a lot harder. So, just something to keep in mind, and it is something you really should pay attention to. Now, like I said, with acoustic guitars and stuff, I will take them out and just let them breathe a little bit. Let the if you think about it like this, a lot of your cases have this carpet lining in it, okay? It's just like a wick. It's going to suck the moisture out, okay, of your instrument, and it does. So if you just leave it in the case all the time, I get it. It is a barrier, but, depending on your conditions and, like I said, what you run for heat, you may end up drying it out, too. So, there's no really exact science to it. I think the best science is really just to monitor the humidity and temperature in your room. And never take my word for it on this one, folks. Don't ever store your instruments in a basement. That's a terrible place to put them. If there's moisture, which there usually is, unless you're controlling it, your hardware will rust and all that kind of stuff. And it's a poor place to keep them, in my opinion. And here's why. I had my studio set up in my basement years ago and had, quite a few guitars down there as well. And I had a water pipe break behind my washing machine. And it ran most of the night. And I get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and the furnace wasn't on. And I went downstairs to see what was going on and stepped into about a foot of water. My pedal board was submerged. There was guitars floating across the basement. It was not pretty. My drum set, this was bad. So that's why I decided that's enough. I got to make some sort of decision. I have too much of this stuff and too much money invested to take chances like that. So if you're keeping your stuff in your basement, I recommend this. Build a rack, get it off the floor at least that high, so they're on eye level in the cases, if that's what it takes. Don't ever take the chance of, that ain't gonna happen to me. It can happen. So just a word of wisdom. That was one of the worst days I've ever experienced in my life, to walk down and see my guitars floating, some of them in the water. I had a 335 that I actually dumped water out of the F-holes. I still have it. I still have some of the pedals here too on the pedal board right now that still work, believe it or not. I was throwing guitars out the window, cases full of water, drums, this was just a guitar collector's worst nightmare. Now, I heard that there was a flood in Nashville a few years back and got some big storage place too. Where do you keep them? That was a sad one. There was a lot of vintage instruments lost in that. so I look at it like this. I think I am in a pretty safe place living where I do, you know, in Maine. So, man, you got to look at it like this. You know, a flood could get you, depending where you live. If you're out west, like California, there's a lot of fires. I've seen a lot of communities burned to the ground, you know, that kind of thing, which happens, you know, that has happened in the past too. So there's always something like to get you. It's like Mother Nature's revenge on guitar players and collectors or something, but I don't really believe that. But you know, what are you gonna do? You have to live somewhere. So I guess the best thing is to I don't know really know how I'd handle that if I was in worry of my home burning. I was thinking maybe like fire suppression system. I have some friends that actually do that kind of work. Yeah, I'd rather have them wet and still have them, but you know, if there's a wildfire, the fire suppression in your home probably is not going to do you a lot of good. It's going to get the outside. I really don't know. That's a tough one. You know, I guess the best thing is not worry about it a whole lot, but at least keep it in mind. You know, there can come a day when something bad can happen, and you know, it is what it is. But you know, something like keeping them in your basement, that is something you can prevent, okay? Keeping them in a room that's hot, keeping them away from the wood stove or the heating vents, that's something that you can do, you know what I mean? I know most of you guys probably already know this stuff, but even still, you know, it's good just to keep, even if you just keep them in your home, your closet, and your bedroom, keep an eye on the humidity and the temperature. It's good practice. Keep them out of the basement if you can, and if that's where your stuff is, put it on high ground. Trust me. I still have a half-stack cabinet over there that's got water stains about that high on it. And I did lose some stuff in that little flood I had too, so you know, I thought I'd just share that anyway. And I'm going to go through the rest of my guitars here and check them right now. I'm going to check 4 or 5 of them at least and see if they're sharp. If they are sharp, then I got to go through, I don't know, 75 guitars and slack tune them. And I'm going to get my D-Hue in here. So, you know, like I said, this is a thing in New England, especially Maine. I mean, it can go from, like I said, running your heat in the morning and wearing a pair of shorts and opening the windows in the afternoon. It does happen certain times of year here, so that's kind of a tricky little situation to try to handle, you know. That's where I'd recommend putting them in the cases. During that point in the year, boom, do that. That's a good protective barrier. But, you know, if not, if your room's good and you're taking a close watch on it, then, you know, you should be good. I've never honestly had any guitars crack or split or anything like that. You know, I've had them swell up, though. Like I said, this time of year when the humidity starts getting out there, they do swell. So I won't hold you up anymore, folks. And, you know, check your instruments over. Get yourself a little humidity and temperature gauge. Keep it in the closet with your guitars. You know, that's not a bad piece of business. You can buy one for under 20 bucks. I mean, it's not a big deal. So, you know, a cheap investment may save your guitar finish, or, you know, something bad happening to an acoustic, like cracking and that kind of stuff. So, again, thanks again for watching, folks. I really appreciate it. I got some cool videos. I'm kind of stewing around here upstairs, and I got a few cool ideas I'm going to lay on you here pretty soon. And just bear with me. It's kind of hit and miss right now, but eventually I'll be back online and hopefully, you know, visiting at least every day or two with you folks. Well, thanks again. We'll see you guys real soon. Be good. Okie doke.